Hey guys, welcome to the Bama Insider YouTube channel. It's time for recruiting with Andrew Bone. And before we get into anything else, man, like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, hit the bell so you know that we're live. Now part of On 3. What's up, Bone? Lots to talk about today. Welcome back to your show.
Well, it's good to be back on the show, man. I like this new setup here. I think Chris did a good job here. I like it.
You like that, like the houndstooth, the faint houndstooth.
Yeah,
Uh, I like your name in bold crimson.
that's right.
One guy's name we're not going to see in bold crimson anymore, at least in the present tense, is Bill O'Brien. He's back to the NFL. We've been talking about this for months. Maybe the worst kept secret in sports, but he's going to work for the Patriots as their, I guess, offensive coordinator. And he's done at Alabama 2 years as the OC.
Yeah, obviously the news broke early this morning, and I think it kind of broke before I even got out of bed this morning. Usually my kid wakes me up around 6:30, but he slept in a little later. I woke up. First thing I saw was the Bill O'Brien news. So it worked out good for both sides. I mean, I think Bill O'Brien was wanting to go back to the NFL. Perfect situation with him. Reconnecting with Belichick up in New England. Mac Jones probably a little excited today that he's getting a real offensive coordinator in there, and obviously on the Alabama side of things, you know how Alabama fans feel. I think Bill probably got a lot of flack, that probably undeserving. I think he did everything that he could, try to have success in Tuscaloosa. Obviously, went to the national championship in his first year. I put this on the board the other day. I mean, Alabama's offense scored 41 points against that vaunted Georgia defense in the SEC title game. Obviously, it didn't work out in the national championship, and then you go into the to this season, or this past season, these high expectations, and things didn't work out. So everybody tried to cast blame on one or two people, and now those two people are elsewhere. So I think it worked. I don't want to spend much time on it, but I think it worked out well for both sides. Best of luck to Bill O'Brien. I think that he's a smart guy. I think he's a smart coach. And I think he's going to enjoy being back in the NFL. It's probably more. I don't know if there's more pressure on an NFL offensive coordinator or more pressure on a college coordinator, but man, he certainly had a lot of pressure on him over the last few years. So we'll see how he does in New England. But the biggest question is who's going to be that next offensive coordinator in Tuscaloosa, and I don't know who it's going to be. I know that Coach Saban has likely been vetting guys, hoping that he can make the right decision here, because this is going to be the most important decision as far two very important decisions: defense coordinator, offensive coordinator, because this is probably going to be Saban's last big hires before he rides off into the sunset. Maybe not. Maybe you get a guy in here that might stay a year, maybe two, and then you hire somebody else. But as of right now, this is going to be obviously two very, very critical hires for Alabama moving forward. You just signed the highest rated recruiting class in the Nick Saban era. You've got all these top guys coming in. Of course, you also have you're going to have to replace your quarterback. Who's going to be that quarterback, and are you going to bring in the right guy to teach these guys throughout the spring, throughout the summer, and developing these guys to be the best player they can possibly be? I mean, Bryce Young was not the starting quarterback when Bill O'Brien was named the offensive coordinator at Alabama, and we've seen the development and the Heisman Trophy winner. We've seen all the success that Bryce has had, and obviously a lot of that's talent, but a lot of that's also coaching and development and sitting in the film room with Bill O'Brien. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people just don't even care about, that people don't even pay attention to, they don't even think about. All they see is what happens on Saturdays. And they don't care about anything else. It's all about Saturday afternoon and the performance that's put on the field. They don't really pay much attention to all the long hours that are spent at the football complex or in the film room, on the field with these players and trying to develop them to be the best possible players that they can be. And I think that gets lost in the shuffle a good bit. So I know Bill O'Brien did everything he could to have success at Alabama and to, lead a successful program, on the offensive side of the ball. Did a lot better than a lot of people would. And,
right.
just because he didn't finish with a, top 2, top 3 offense the last 2 years, finished, I think, it was 7-11 in the country in total offense. I mean, it's not the absolute best, not the absolute worst, not even close. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be that next OC hire at Alabama. Can they be better than Bill O'Brien? Can they be better than some of these other offensive coordinators that have come through? I mean, there are high expectations at Alabama every
Oh,
year.
yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of that has to comes from the success of the previous coordinators in Tuscaloosa. I mean, Pete Golding, you're replacing Kirby Smart. You look at the offense coordinators, Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, Mike Locksley, Brian Daboll. A lot of really good coordinators on both sides of the ball for Alabama in this last decade, and you're hoping that you can go out and find the right guy. But at the same time, it's kind of difficult because anybody that has success at Alabama at a coordinator position, they're going to have opportunities. So are you going to get a guy in there that comes in, coaches for a year, and then boom, all of a sudden they're a head coach somewhere else? Or and most of the time we don't see, with not Bill O'Brien, but with Pete Golding, you don't normally see a coordinator come into Tuscaloosa and then leave to take another coordinator position somewhere else, at least at the college level. We might see it at the professional level, not at the college level. So we saw that this year. So I don't really think that Alabama's going to go out and hire somebody that's going to come in as an OC or a DC for a year, maybe 2, and then all of a sudden they're OC or DC somewhere else. Those guys are looking for head coaching positions. I always say this, like a wide receivers coach or a running backs coach, if you have an offensive line coach, they're looking to be, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are looking to be a coordinator somewhere. They're hoping to get that coordinator position, run the defense, run the offense. So just like coordinators are hoping that they can prove enough to be a head coach here in the next couple years. So it'll be an interesting hire for Alabama, whoever they decide to go after, whoever they end up hiring to replace those 2 coaches. So these are going to be 2 very critical hires. And obviously, Coach Saban also wants to hire some guys that are pretty good recruiters as well. So that's always going to be the name of the game. Bill O'Brien wasn't necessarily going out there and targeting 50 guys every single recruiting class, but he was going after the quarterbacks. He ended up helping Alabama sign Ty Simpson. He helped Alabama sign Eli Holstein, Dylan Lonergan, Julian Sain committing to Alabama. I talked to Julian Sain. Julian was named the MVP of the Battle Miami 7-on-7 tournament this past weekend. And I talked to Julian, when he committed, 2 months ago, and he really talked highly about Bill O'Brien. And he knew. He said, he was pretty much under the impression that Bill O'Brien was not going to be the offense coordinator at Alabama. Some fans may see that as, oh, well, that's why he committed to Alabama. And that's not the reason he committed to Alabama. One of the main reasons he committed to Alabama is because of the time that he spent with Bill O'Brien and sitting down in the film room with him. He traveled to Tuscaloosa back, I guess it was back sometime in November.
Mm-hmm.
Sat down with the coaches on Saturday, but spent the entire day Sunday with Bill O'Brien at the football complex, he and his family, and really built a strong connection with him. But Bill O'Brien told him, he said, don't commit to Alabama because of me. Commit to Alabama because this is the best program in the country that can develop you on and off the field. And, he respected that. So got to give credit to Bill O'Brien there because he was able to help Alabama, secure the quarterbacks here for the future, whether that was Ty Simpson, Eli Holstein, Lonergan, or Julian Sang. So did a great job there. So we'll see who's going to be that next offensive and defensive coordinator in T-Town.
Yep, very, very interesting as that thing shakes out. Hey, guys, don't forget, too, you can catch all the latest on BamaInsider.com. And right now, $29.99 gets you a membership all the way until August 31st. And as we change the face of team coverage, we really want you to be a part of it. Just jump on right now. $9.99 a month, but you get Bone and Joseph Hastings on recruiting, plus all of the On3 experts from across the country at a national level. You also get the message board with Jimmy Stein, our buddy Clint Lamb. So much more coming. Try it, check it out. And I'm telling you, as everything's happening, you're going to want to have that inside information and have a good time getting it. And that's BamaInsider.com. All right, Bone, look, a lot of offers coming out, a lot of new offers last week. What does this mean at the early stages of the recruiting process, seeing so many people get offers to Alabama?
Yeah, so if you've been following my Twitter handle, if you've been following BamaInsider.com, the message board every single day, we continue to see offers getting extended. A lot of different guys announcing offers from Alabama, and not just guys who are going to be seniors next year. We're seeing a lot of 2024, 2025, and 2026 recruits announce offers from Alabama. And most of the time, say about 99% of the time, a lot of these offers are coming from assistants after they visit the high school. So these coaches are going out throughout the entire country, visiting high schools, talking to the coaches, talking to guidance counselors, checking in on grades, watching film with these coaches, and getting a good feel on what these kids bring to the table. And they're not just visiting high schools of the top 300 kids in the country. They're going out to as many schools as they possibly can. They're in Washington, D.C., they're going to hit 15 schools in the D.C. area, not just, the 2 or 3 schools that have the top 300 kids. They're going to go try to see as many kids as possible so that they make sure that, no stone is left unturned. They want to make sure that they're seeing every kid, but also inviting kids to campus. Come work out in camp. Come down to Tuscaloosa for a junior day or a spring practice or the spring game. We want to see you. We want to get an accurate height and weight. We want to get all your measurables. We want to learn more about you. So when you see a lot of these kids get offered at this point, there's obviously some kids that are out there that they have committable offers. They can jump at it whenever they want to. A lot of those kids have been seen. They've come to camp in the past. They've been to games. They've met with Coach Saban. But a lot of these guys that are just getting offered by, a position coach. I was about to say a coordinator, but there's not a coordinator at Alabama right now. But most of these guys that are being offered by, these position coaches after they visit the high school, a lot of it's, hey, we want to see you in camp. Nick Saban needs to evaluate you in person. You do have an offer from us, but it is contingent on working out for us, or at least sitting down with Coach Saban and having him have a discussion with you and your family, or whoever it may be that comes down on these visits with you. We just want to get to know you a little bit more before you can actually make that decision. So I think over the course of the last 10 or 12 days, we've seen 30 plus offers. Probably not many in that group that can could actually commit just yet. It's an evaluation process, and the offer is kind of I don't want to say it's the first step, but it's not necessarily the step where, hey, you can commit right now. It's just an offer that we're interested in you, that we're going to evaluate you, that we're going to, keep this relationship going, at least until you visit our campus, meet with Nick Saban. And, a lot of schools are like that. It's not just Alabama. There's a lot of top programs that are out there that are doing the exact same thing right now. So a lot of offers that you see don't necessarily mean anything until you at least come to campus, work out, get seen. Maybe it might just require a coach going out and seeing you during the spring. Getting some extra tape on you. You go to a high school during a spring practice. The guys are out there working out. It might be a scrimmage, might be a jamboree. They just be, may just be practice on a Tuesday afternoon. You see coaches out there with a little handheld camera watching every single play that these guys make, every single movement, and then they're going back and evaluating and telling Nick Saban exactly how they feel. So it's it's a weird period where you see all these offers, but a lot of it's just, hey, we want to see it junior day. We want to see you, around a little bit more. We want this relationship to grow and continue, and then we'll kind of see where it goes.
Hanging out with Andrew Bone like we do every Tuesday here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel, Recruiting with Andrew Bone. And I see you guys in the comment section. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Make sure you like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. That's a way of saying Roll Tide. We appreciate you more than you know, and we thank you guys for hanging out with us. Hit the bell so you know every time we go live with a show. And that could be a show. That could be something breaking with Alabama, like Bill O'Brien leaving. Anything that goes on, we're going to have a video for you and break it down, and you're going to get great coverage of Alabama right here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Bone, Junior Day's coming. Another Junior Day's coming, and there's some kids that'll be visiting. How important is it for those kids to come with an offensive and defensive coordinator in place before the weekend? I mean, is even that even possible at this point?
Well, you never know. I mean, it's possible that something like that happens. We saw that, a few weeks ago when Pete Golding left to become the defense coordinator at Ole Miss. It got announced on Friday morning, and then Austin Armstrong. Rumors kind of came out Friday afternoon that he was joining Alabama's coaching staff, and they had Junior Day on Saturday, and he was on campus recruiting, talking to a lot of recruits who were in Tuscaloosa that weekend. So you never know. I mean, there could be an offensive or defensive coordinator, maybe both, in Tuscaloosa this weekend. Am I expecting it? Probably not. But you just never know how it may happen. It's going to be their final Junior Day before the dead period hits. A lot of these Junior Days are more about just coming to campus, getting a feel for everything. A lot of these kids seeing it for the first time. Now, there are obviously some guys that are going to be visiting and have visited who have been to Tuscaloosa before, have met with the coaching staff, have seen everything they kind of have to offer. But with these 2024 guys, the attention is now completely on them. Whereas, back in the fall or back in the summer, they were visiting, the top guys were visiting, and Alabama also has 5 commitments already in 2024 class, but the priority guys were 2023. So now that the 2023 class is signed and delivered, you can really spend all your time focused in on this 2024 class. You can start recruiting 2025 guys a little bit harder and spending some time with those guys, when they come to campus. So, it makes it a little bit easier. But as far as coming to campus for Junior Day, you're trying to get, accurate measurements. You're trying to educate them a little bit on Alabama, but, not only just that, they're educating them on NIL. They're letting them talk to current players to kind of get a sense of what college life is like as a student athlete. They're sitting down with strength and conditioning coaches, the nutrition staff, the medical staff, the training staff, everybody that's kind of involved with Alabama football. You're getting a chance to meet all those people, and some of the guys that are coming into campus, they're getting offered, and it's kind of a similar situation. You're getting an offer, but you're still it basically means they like you. They're going to continue to recruit you. They're also continuing to evaluate you.
Right.
But as far as the OC and DC are concerned, I don't think it's necessarily that big of a deal to have those guys on campus this weekend. Don't get me wrong. I think it's important for those guys to be able to meet the offensive and defensive coordinator. Right. But we're also, 11 months from the early signing period. And, there's no more guys that, Alabama's really recruiting in this 2023 class. So.
And you don't expect a big change in philosophy offensively, do you?
And I don't think anybody does. I mean, you've seen, kind of what, Alabama's been able to do the last, 3 or 4 coordinators. I mean, it's pretty much been, very similar. So, I don't think anybody's really too concerned about that. So even if there are guys who are out there right now that are juniors that might be committing soon, once you get a new defense coordinator or offense coordinator in place, you can still recruit those guys.
Yeah.
They're not signing. So you can recruit them for the next 10 or 11 months until they do sign their letter of intent. So it's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. Junior Day's obviously good to get guys on campus, but not necessarily a top priority. You want to get guys more on campus during the spring when you have spring practice going on.
Right.
They can watch guys work out. They can sit in on position meetings. They can watch film with the coaches, and they watch film with the coaches. But when you're able to sit down with the actual players and go through the film and talk to them, and get a chance to really see what practice is like, whether that's spring practice, spring scrimmage, or the spring game. I mean, I think that's kind of what Alabama's hoping they can get the majority of their top end guys to. We used to talk about how Junior Day was so important to get so many guys on, and I think I used to think that just because back in the day, I remember it was probably 15 years ago. It was definitely when Mac Brown was at Texas. Texas used to get like 20 commitments during Junior Day. It was the craziest thing that you'd ever seen. I mean, they would have pretty much their entire recruiting class wrapped up, in February or March. Alabama's never going to do anything like that. They have 5 commitments now. I'll be surprised if they have double-digit commitments in May, just because they're gonna slow down. They're gonna evaluate. They may be offering guys left and right now, but they're still in evaluation mode. They're still in, we need to get an offensive and defense coordinator mode before we really take, a bunch of other, guys and put them on that commitment list. So Junior Days are always good things, good to get kids on campus and see everything, because you're going to get a lot of guys in town that haven't visited before. A lot of guys have visited, a lot of guys haven't visited. Jordan Seaton, #1 interior offensive lineman in the country out of Washington, D.C., making his very first trip to Tuscaloosa this weekend. Corian Gibson, top 100 safety out of Texas, also going to be visiting Alabama. An LSU commitment, Joseph Stone out of Georgia, really talented athlete. He's going to be making another trip or making his first trip to Alabama. Then you got some other guys that have visited Alabama in the past that are going to be coming in. Daniel Calhoun, 4-star, top 100 offensive lineman out of Centennial High School over in Georgia. Mason Short, who's a 2025 offensive lineman out of Georgia, also going to be making another intriguing visitor. Not necessarily intriguing, but something that we're kind of watching. Martavius Collins. He is an Alabama commitment out of Rome High School in Georgia. Took a visit to Auburn 2 weekends ago, or I think it was 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weekends ago. I was trying to think if it was last weekend, but yeah, it was 2 weekends.
Right.
But he's definitely somebody that we're interested in talking to afterwards, just kind of see where his head's at. Especially after going to Auburn, now coming to Tuscaloosa. Is he going to continue to take visits? Who are some other schools that are in the mix? But they're going to probably have. I would say, the first Junior Day, which was January the 14th, we didn't see a huge group. I can't remember the exact total, but it was definitely less than like 40 kids. I mean, there was probably like, 25, to 30 kids that were in town. Might see a little bit more, may not be as star-studded, but there are a lot of big names that are going to be in town this weekend. Definitely guys that we're going to be paying close attention to.
Yeah, well, you guys can find out all the latest information, BamaInsider.com, on Junior Day and anything else going on recruiting with Alabama. Now that we're part of On 3, we want you to be part of it as well. So as I mentioned before, $9.99 a month or $29.99 from now until August 31st of 2023. So that's a pretty good deal just to check it out and be a part of it as Alabama puts together a recruiting class, as Alabama finds coordinators. And I'm confident that Nick Saban will nail both of those, the recruits and the coaches. And so it's going to be fun to watch. A couple Alabama guys, commitments anyway. So I shouldn't say they're guys yet, but they're commitments. Ryan Williams visited Auburn last weekend, Perry Thompson said he's 60% committed to Alabama. I don't even know what that means. Either you're committed or you're not, right? Oh, I'm 60%. That's more than 50. What do you got on these two guys? Any pause for concern?
Yeah, I think it's really early. I think we haven't seen this many commits at this juncture in their recruitment. These guys have just finished up their junior year of, not even their junior year. They finished up their junior football season, just in the last 2 months. So, they're starting to, feel the attention that all these 2023 guys were seeing over the course of this last year. And now all the attention's on them. And, they're getting a lot of, different schools that are coming after them that are prioritizing them. That, you're seeing a lot of different colleges visit high schools this month. And you're going to continue to see that. You're going to continue to see Alabama commits take visits. Now, going through the list of Alabama commits right now, I mean, you have Julian Saying, who just received an offer from Ohio State last week. Julian came out. We had an interview with him after the Ohio State offer. He pretty much locked in with Alabama, not really interested. Sterling Dixon, edge linebacker out of Mobile Christian. I think that there's obviously some schools that are still, pushing hard for him. Auburn, LSU, those were on his short list when he made the decision. But, he also seems pretty locked in with that commitment to Alabama right now. So the other guys, Jalen Mbakwe is going to take a visit to LSU this upcoming weekend. He's Alabama's highest rated commitment, 5-star consensus athlete out of Clay Chalkville, but, not really somebody that we're too concerned about. I mean, he was at every single Alabama home game. He recruits heavily for Alabama. He wears Alabama gear everywhere he goes. I think he's just kind of enjoying the recruiting process a little bit, and will continue to take visits. And then you look at Perry Thompson, coming out saying that he was 60% committed, which I don't know what that means.
I'm 60% committed to you, Bone.
I know.
On the show right now.
He took a visit.
I'm just kidding.
He took a visit to Auburn 2 weekends ago. He's going to visit Tennessee. A lot of these guys just don't like, the amount of pressure that's on them as a commitment, taking a visit elsewhere, seeing everybody talk about how, we're getting this kid on campus this weekend. He's committed. And then you have all the fans tweeting at him, don't go there. Stick with your commitment. And, maybe he just threw something out there, threw a wild number out there. I think Perry's pretty solid with his commitment, but that 60%, you're always going like, what does that really mean? So I do think Perry is interested in other programs. I think he's going to take some other visits, enjoy it, but at the same time, he's been pretty rock solid as far as recruiting players, trying to help recruit players to Alabama. Has a good connection with Alabama commits. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Now, I did talk to Ryan Williams, and we'll have a really in-depth interview with Ryan Williams on BamaInsider on Wednesday morning. So I encourage you to go check that interview out. But he took a visit to Auburn this past weekend. His father played there for a couple of years before he ended up transferring. So grew up in an Auburn household. Has always liked Auburn, but just didn't have a really good connection with the previous coaching staff. Now the new staff's coming after him pretty hard. They really want him, but he's still pretty rock solid with the commitment to Alabama. Just won Mr. Football in the state a couple weeks ago, first sophomore to ever win the award. And this is a just absolute special football player. I would not be surprised if he's the number one wide receiver in the country by the time he's a senior. And I think he's got a chance to potentially challenge to be maybe even number one overall. I mean, that's how good this kid is. I mean, he's a little undersized at 6 foot, 165 pounds. So a little, but once again, he's only a sophomore. So, right now, I guess he'd probably be a little bit bigger than Devontae Smith was at this stage in high school. So, he compares himself to Devontae. So that Devontae and J-Mo were his two favorite college wide receivers growing up. So I've got a feeling that this is going to be one of the next great superstar. I'm not saying there's not other superstar wide receivers that are at Alabama right now, but this is special talent right here. I'm really excited to see kind of what he's going to be able to do at the college level, because he's been absolutely spectacular at the high school level so far. But saying that, we know that he's going to be a top end recruit. I mean, he is one of the best overall recruits in the country. So a lot of schools are going to be coming after him. So Alabama's going to have to obviously continue recruiting him hard and making sure he feels like a top priority all the way until he signs.
Yeah, he had a spectacular season last year. State championship, did it all. And if you watch that guy play, I mean, it's like watching – honestly, it reminds me of watching Bo Scarborough when he was a sophomore at Northridge. It was like, man, this guy's a sophomore? And he was like by far the best player on the field, by far. No one could even touch him as a sophomore.
Yep. Yeah. I remember, those, seeing Bo Scarborough for the first time, and maybe he was a freshman when I first saw him, and I was just like, I can't not believe a freshman.
Yeah.
Looks like that. Of course,
yeah.
I saw Brian Robinson play when he was a sophomore over at Hillcrest in Tuscaloosa, and I thought, man, this guy, I don't know where he's going to end up going, and maybe it's Alabama, but he's a really, really good high school football player, and thought that if he continued to develop, he could be one of the best. Brian ended up not being really, he was a 4-star, maybe he was in the top 100, but I remember as a sophomore, when he was a sophomore, thinking this guy's got a chance to be a 5-star top end guy in the country. And I think maybe lack of going to camps and really doing anything probably hurt him a little bit, but yeah, I mean, glad to see his career.
Hey, he's better in the NFL than he was at Alabama. He was built for the NFL. I thought he was, he was good at Alabama, but he wasn't great. And he's really good in the NFL. That league is made for him.
The last 2 years have been almost his best 2 years. The last season in Alabama, and then the get shot before the season starts, and then you get shot. You don't even know if you're going to come back and play football ever again. Let alone he was back
next week,
a few weeks later.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, Bone, well, before we get out of here, again, I want to thank everyone hanging out with us here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, hit the bell so you know when we're live, and know that we do this every Tuesday. So come hang out with us for Recruiting with Andrew Bone. We talked about this last week. We didn't know how it was going to turn out, but Deion Sanders in Colorado ended up getting Cormani McClain. Kind of a weird recruitment. He was a commitment to Miami, didn't sign his letter, and Alabama tried to sneak back in there with him, but he goes to play for Coach Prime. A really big win for Colorado.
It's crazy. It's crazy to see, the success. I mean, it's not crazy to see Deion Sanders having the success that he's having. But, last year, Travis Hunter flipping from Florida State to, Jackson State was wild to see. And obviously
unbelievable.
That's
unbelievable.
Now he's going to Colorado with him. Now you get Cormani McClain, who, had a top 3 of Alabama, Florida, and Miami, and everyone thought he was going to Florida. I mean, when he announced the decision back in whenever it was, October, everybody had him penciled in for Florida. Nobody was expecting Miami. I don't even think Miami reporters were expecting Miami. And announces the commitment to Miami, and then ends up, didn't take any other visits, and then come signing day, decides not to sign. We start talking to people, and he says, but we talk to our people, and it's like, hey, he's at least reaching out, he's contacting. There is some interest, and but Alabama wasn't going to budge as far as NIL type stuff with him, and that was something that had played a factor. I don't know how big of a factor it played, in the end. Maybe it did. But Alabama had been in communication with him up until really the week of him committing to Colorado. I saw these different reports people put out there that Alabama had backed away, that they weren't, going to deal with his stuff. Well, they were still in contact, so don't believe everything you hear from, national guys or regional guys. Trust the local guys that are on the scene that have their ears to the ground, because he was still very much in communication with Alabama. But at the end, he ends up committing to Colorado. Not sure, the exact reasoning behind it, but maybe it's just to play with Dion. I said, imagine being a kid from, Lakeland, Florida, never going to Colorado before, and then you go out there, you see all the snow. I said, sometimes it could, that could have had a negative effect on on Cormani, because it's had a negative effect with some recruits who've gone to different places. David Palmer told me one time, he said that he ended up taking a visit. Where did he take a visit to? I want to say he visited Pittsburgh when he was going through the recruiting process.
Right.
He visited with like a teammate or somebody like that, and he goes up there, and it's like December, January when he took that visit. He said, never again would he go up there because of how cold it was.
Sounds like my orientation at Syracuse University, and the snowdrift was like, I don't know, it was like 20 feet high. And I'm like, this is really expensive, and it is freezing cold, and you can't even see over the snowbank. Wasn't the right fit.
Well, I've heard, different recruits who've gone to, mainly Big Ten games, like in November, like a Michigan or Ohio State game. And they're like, man, it was really cold. So, these are mainly obviously guys from the Southeast, whether that's Alabama or Mississippi or, Florida or whatnot. But, Cormani ends up committing to Colorado. People have been asking me, well, does that mean Alabama's going to go after somebody else? Is there anybody still out there? And, there's some guys who are still uncommitted that Alabama has been in communication with in the past. Probably not as much recently, but there's still some guys that are out there that are going to be signing in February, including Deuce Robinson, the 5-star tight end out of Arizona. But Alabama's not signing anybody else. I think they're pretty much finished. I don't think they're really pushing for anybody else. And people ask, why would they not be pushing for Deuce Robinson? Well, they signed a tight end, Ty Lockwood. They added C.J. Dupree from the transfer portal. Not necessarily a big priority. Would they take him? Absolutely. But is it coming here? No. So I think Alabama's pretty much finished in 2023. Complete focus on 2024. Keep in mind, they don't have an offensive or defensive coordinator right now. So is that important? Probably to some of these guys, but with Alabama, they're thinking that we don't have a defensive or offensive coordinator. Not really a big deal, because we're not going after anybody else in this 2023 class.
Yep. I hear you, Bone. It was fun recruiting, though. I mean, if every recruit was like Cormani McClain, we could do a show every single night, because it was twisted.
If every single recruit was like Cormani McClain, I would be in a new profession.
That wouldn't be too fun for you.
No offense, Cormani, but man, that was
no fun.
So,
I'm sure coaches hate it too.
I'm just glad that one's over. Everybody was saying, "Oh, well, he's committed now, but he's still not signed. There's still a chance." Don't worry, we're not going to be following him anymore. He's not going to be right about him anymore. He's not going to be discussed anymore. Alabama's moved on. Trust me.
We said that guy's name for months. It was like, Florida, Miami, or, back to whatever, Colorado, Alabama.
Well, it was bad when he ends up going to, going to Colorado for the official visit last week, 2 weekends ago. And, Miami coaches had no idea. And Miami coaches show up at his high school to visit with him, and, nowhere to be found. And, people were still unsure if he was even in.
Do you think they get tipped off like, hey, man, something's going on here? Or you think they were just absolutely like, hey, the guy's not even in school?
I mean, I don't know. We've heard so many times where coaches showing up at schools and, players aren't there. happened to Alabama once. I won't get into that, but it happened to Alabama once where they went to go see a kid, and the kid just wasn't there. So yeah, stuff like that happens. But
it's a life of recruiting high school.
That's right.
Football players. All right, Bone, look, tell everyone what's going on, BamaInsider.com. And, I've urged everyone to join you over there and the rest of us at BamaInsider.com now that we're part of On 3. So you've got the hat to prove it. BamaInsider.com, $29.99 to get coverage all the way up until August 31st, or you can go $9.99 a month.
That's right. I mean, listen, you get a little bit of a taste of what we do on this show every week, but this is something that we do every single day on Bama Insider. We got great recruiting coverage. You guys know that with me and Joseph Hastings. Joseph brings a lot to the table, goes out on the road for us. Was at the Battle 7-on-7 tournament this past weekend down in Miami, brought us a lot of great information, intel, stories, interviews, a lot of great stuff. But, Clint Lamb has been just absolutely delivering the goods here lately on Bama Insider. He's our team reporter, does a really great job of really breaking down a lot of different aspects of team coverage, for, whether it's football, basketball. Did a great job with Tresman Marshall stuff last week when he got announced, and has been also throwing out some early depth charts for Alabama, not necessarily official, but in his opinion, and been really doing a good job there. And obviously we have the OC hot board on Bama Insider right now, so I encourage you to go check that out. But most importantly, get on the forums. Go to the forums. Go to the Talk of Champions. Talk to us. You can come on there and talk to me every single day. We're on there, hanging out with fans. Really encourage you to go on there and do that. And, it's a lot of fun. So definitely go on there and check us out and talk with us and, give us your opinions on stuff. So that's what it's all about, is sharing opinions with each other. And, I'm not always right. Our guys on the site aren't always right on stuff. So we want to hear from you guys. So go on there, check us out, and come hang with us.
Sounds like a good idea to me, and we appreciate all you guys for being part of our program tonight. If you like the show, make sure you give us a thumbs up. That's a way of saying Roll Tide. Like and subscribe to the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Share, man. I mean, we're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers plus. I mean, that would put us right there with the amount of seats at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And hit the bell so you know anytime we are live. Had a great time with you guys. Don't forget, we'll be back next Tuesday. Anything going on with Alabama, we'll have it here on the site. Nate Oates' press conferences is Bama's number 2 in hoops. Might have to start doing a basketball recruiting show if things continue to go the way that they're going in basketball right now, Bone. But Alabama, number 2 in the country. We'll be covering that as well. Special thanks to Chris Daughtry behind the scenes for all his help. For Andrew Bone, I'm Mick Gillispie, and the guy that puts all of our shows together, everything. Kyle Henderson, our entire crew. Thanks for hanging out with us, and Roll Tide.